coming into your body and helping you to heal anything that's stuck. So she will be speaking to us and sharing some inspirations from her new book, Heal What Hurts, How to Heal Emotional Triggers. It will be a talk as well as an Heal What Hurts experience that we'll all get to have a part of. So join me in welcoming Maria.
So I don't need that one. Well, thank you so much for coming out to hear about a pretty triggering issue that a lot of people run away from until the triggers get so bad you got to do something about it. And I certainly know that was true for me. For a while when we start experiencing emotional triggers, there tends to be a lot of shame. Because what happens when we become triggered, we contract. Some part of us contracts, and we start acting pretty much around the age of when that trigger was first put in place. Which, now that I have worked with people and their triggers, both my friends, myself, my clients, my students, they all originate at a time when we're really young. And it doesn't feel very good when we're an adult and suddenly we kind of know some part of us is witnessing that we've kicked into child mode and we're acting out. And that shame and embarrassment, when we sort of come back out of the trigger, we want to just forget all about it. We hope not too many people know about it, and we hope that we can be forgiven by the person that we had that triggering experience with. Now, the triggers that are really hard to avoid and run away from are the ones that we experience in our closest relationships. The ones that we experience with a friend or at work, well, you know, we can sort of avoid it, sort of avoid talking about it, feeling into it, but in our relationships, it's right in our face over and over. And in my little research in myself, first and foremost, but also in people I've talked to, we are drawn to the exact people that will poke those triggers. And I will even assert, again, my own little spiritual research, that the very trigger that's been sitting in the body since we were very young is kind of programmed with that very experience. And then we repeat that experience and repeat that experience. One of my very first teachers ever was a Buddhist teacher. I started meditating when I was very young in Copenhagen. And he said, what's really happening here is that we are the light, consciousness, incarnated in a physical body. And that physical body is in part made up of all of our experiences, both from former lives, but also the ones we've accumulated through childhood. And that is our movie. So back then, movies and the movie theaters were still shown with that lamp behind us, the big projector that would become the movie out there. And then we're experiencing our life as though it's this random movie that's coming toward us. We don't know what's around the next corner. But he said, what's around the next corner is your content being projected out there. And then you get to interact with yourself, with what's really present within yourself. And for a while, that can become a battle. Well, the whole world is a battle based on that notion that we don't really go in and love into wholeness the pieces of us that we're kind of at war with. So he said, your only job, I think it was 19 or 20 when I was told this, so that's Bella's right when she said it's my whole life. Your only job is to clear the heart-mind, as we would say in Buddhism. And what's said there is that the mind is not just thoughts in your head. The mind is expressed in the body. The body is an expression of our whole being, everything we've ever experienced. And one of the first meditations I learned with that organization was to imagine light moving slowly, slowly through the body, which is kind of a tricky way to get you to be more in the body, experience all the parts of your body. What happens when we do that? We feel the places that are not comfortable, the ones that we try to avoid. And we all carry those around. And I would say that is what the triggering program is. It's right there in the body as a place in the body that's contracted like a knot. Life force, prana, our true spirit self can't flow through those channels. So that's where the energy becomes thwarted. and we start acting not like our highest self, because it's kind of working through a program at that point. We know this with people we're close to. We also know it with ourselves when that program kind of clicks into place, right? With those really close to us, there might be like something physical. It's like, ooh, that jaw, I can see that jaw is happening. You're triggered now. You're gonna come at me. And the same is true for me. I had one friend who said, your right eye is getting a little hollow. I'm getting scared. That was how you knew something is kicking in here. By the time a triggering program kicks in, you've got not minutes, seconds, right? Before that program kind of floods you and you're just in the throes of it and you're just going to act that out. And more likely than not, the person you're doing it with has a similar trigger, so you kind of lock in. Exactly what I'm doing is going to trigger you into doing your program, and the two lock in with each other, and there's no healing to be found. Now, the book that I wrote is the book that I wish I had had way earlier, and it's also the book I wish I had had in my teacher trainings. When I started teaching teacher trainings about 10 years ago, I realized that the hardest thing to learn if you want to become a yoga teacher, it's not all the very complicated poses. It's not learning Sanskrit by heart. It's not memorizing philosophy. It's sitting with what is in your body and really feeling into it. That's where people run away. And I've had the privilege for over 10 years now of getting journals from all my yoga teacher training students, and that's a really deep way to get to know people. And I can tell you that no matter where you're coming from, your age, your gender, your nationality, your culture, subculture, what have you, it's the same things that really hurt. It's a feeling of not being loved or safe or belonging. That's what I hear over and over again. And it really doesn't matter if I'm triggered by a colleague or a partner or a child. That's what's inside of that contracted feeling. Now, what do we do when we feel contracted that way? Well, I've noticed 3 ways that we handle that. My favorite one, not that I'm proud of it, is to lash out. Try to make someone else change. If you could just do this, treat me this way, say this nice thing, don't do that, then I'll feel better inside. Then I won't have to be afraid, and I won't have to deal with that on my own. You fix it for me, essentially. And the other one is numbing out. And we all do that. I thought I didn't. I went to a 10-day Vipassana meditation retreat, and I thought I was going to fly through it. Here I am. I've meditated my whole life. I don't drink. I don't smoke. I'm kind of an angel. And you know what happened for those 10 days? I had a total withdrawal and really, really hard from my phone and from sugar. It was really, really hard. And that's what people tend to find, that if you start to become so present in your body, so aware of your breath, that you start to know, okay, I'm triggered, something is happening in the energy field of my body. If you can pause just seconds here and see what is it you want to do. Oh, I want to scroll, I want to smoke, I want to eat, I want to drink, I want to shop, do something to not feel what's going on inside of you. The third out that I observe, which I used to think was cool, I wish I could do that more, and now I think that's problematic in and of itself, and that's just checking out, becoming really cold. I'm not feeling this. I have no compassion for you, really no compassion for me, but I'm just kind of an autopilot and I'm in my head. It always seemed to me when I first started working with this that would be preferable if you could do that. People who do that, I guess we would call them avoidant attachment types, they're suffering just as much. All 3 are coping strategies for not feeling like, oh my God, I wish I felt loved, safe, and belonging right now. In essence, I'm taking a 200-page book and stuffing it into a pretty brief talk here because I really want you guys to experience this, so that's the next part. But in essence, if you can bring your own loving presence to that place that hurts, it's much like bringing the sun, the warmth, to something frozen. What happens if you take an ice cube and radiate it with light, put it out into the sun? It slowly starts to melt. Now, what I think happens in that process is that our loving presence is actually our medicine. It's also where we connect fully and wholly to God, to the divine, to universal unity, to compassion, to empathy. So in working with the very triggers we would so much rather not work with because they're so hard to work on, if we do it the way I talk about in the book, we become more and more aware of the divine, the loving divine presence that is actually with us all the time. That doesn't mean we don't need each other, because sometimes I'm so far gone in a trigger that if you can bring your loving presence to me and say, I'm here, I'm going to sit with you, I'm not going to go into the dark story you're telling me, I'm not going to reinforce that or say, yes, your boyfriend is so mean that he didn't text you back, you should fire him immediately. I'm just going to be here with you. I'm going to feel you, sit with you. And often when you do that with someone you love, you actually start feeling it yourself, because we're actually all one. What we're working on inside of ourselves in terms of not feeling safe, loved, and belonging, each and every one of us is working on that exact same thing. So if you're lucky enough to not be triggered by someone and your friend is triggered, or vice versa, if we could learn to just be right there with each other. I'm here. Where do you feel it in your body? It's a knot in my stomach. Okay. I kind of feel that even when you just say that. I'm going to sit here and hold my tummy too as you hold your tummy. What do you think that's really about? What's locked in here? And here is the possibility that you'll go into a victim story, but for the purpose of this work, we're just staying with a somatic experience, and maybe memories will start releasing. As you bring warmth and love to this knot that's so contracted within you, it starts to loosen. I always get the image of a child that's kind of losing it, and they're all tight, and you wrap your arms around them, and you hold them, and they start to soften, and they lean into you, and they start to trust you, and you as the person being with that child, or being with your own contractions, might say, I'm here. I've got you. I'm not going anywhere. I'm not going out, lash out, numb out, check out. I'm going in. I'm here. I'm with you. What happens to a child when you do that? It starts to relax, right? Can't you almost feel it if you've ever had a child, like their bodies start to soften? And that might be enough. It might also be, Mama, the kids teased me at school today, and the teacher didn't do anything. Or whatever the story is. And a very famous healer, Gabor Mate, he said it's actually not what happens to us, it's whether or not there was someone there that we could talk to about it and help release it from the body. So it can be very severe trauma, sort of in the scope of what can happen to people, and not all that severe, like you were left in a dark room in a crib and no one picked you up. That is enough to create a core of fear within you that needs to be addressed. But if any of those terrible things have happened to you as a child and someone sat with you and said, where do you feel that? You're so upset. I'm right here. And the emotion was allowed to move through, energy in motion, emotion, energy in motion, like water move through, then it's clear. Then it's not sitting there like a speck on the lens of your life that you have to keep experiencing over and over again. And this actually expands beyond relationships. It can even be within yourself if there's a dream, something you really want to do next. And I think we're all here on a hero's journey, and there is this thing that was like, I really wanted to do this heroic next step. And what is it that stops us? It's the contraction somewhere in the body. If we could learn, teach our children, teach each other, with each other, and within ourselves to address that very blocked energetic contraction in the energy field of the body and have that soften and start to move through, then doing that next scary thing is much less scary because there's less of a charge. But the other thing is, I start to trust, you will start to trust that that loving presence is with you all the time. And life is scary. You don't know what's around the bend. You could lose someone you love so much that you think you're going to be devastated. And you probably will be, but if that loving presence within you stays in you and you don't check out, numb out, lash out at the world, it's like, no, come in, be with it, feel it, let it move through in all the ways that we can learn to move things through our body. Then you know, I have the divine within me with me no matter what happens, no matter what the external circumstances are. So we become strengthened from within, that we're not contracted, lonely beings that don't have access to help and love and guidance. We are interconnected with God all the time because God, the divine, is what's giving us life in the first place. We just forget the more we contract. When kids come into the world, there's this wide open thing, running up to each other in the playground. Want to play with me? Yes. And then at some point, the kids get a little older. No, we don't want to play with you. We want to play over here. And then that shutting down starts to happen where we become contracted and feel more and more lonely. The greatest thing I would want you guys to take away with you from this talk today, and next we'll do a little experience of this, is what's helped me in my darkest hour. It's really not enough to become so aware of the breath that you notice when it's getting tight, ooh, I'm getting triggered, or this is where it's sitting, I know what it's about, I was in the hospital when I was 4. At that point, that feeling is too overwhelming and awful to be with unless I trust that there is something greater than my ego-based personality structure self that will swoop in and help me in that moment. God, please help me. This is so awful. I am so scared. Divine, power of love. Choose your language. We don't want to get stuck on a certain term that's triggering to us. We want to bring in the one that helps. Great Mother Earth. Someone who maybe has passed that you know is on the other side, come and help me through this. And I can tell you time and time again in that situation with individuals, in groups, and in my own body, something goes from to something like that. And then suddenly there's more freedom. Freedom to create and be childlike. Okay, I think I want to write a book. I'm going to put it out there, right? Some of those things that we want to do, I couldn't have done 10 years ago. I would have been too scared. I'm still scared of the next thing that I might do, but I know that I'm with me. So we can listen to me or listen to someone else or watch reels or videos on YouTube all day long that really kind of hit home. Something in our mind goes, yeah, I can see that. But it doesn't actually work until we do it. It's the actual becoming present in the body and bringing love to the places that hurt the most. That's when something shifts. And that's why I would love to do an experience with you guys. And to that end, my dear friend Amanda Eller, who is also a member of this community, is going to play sound healing for us. Amanda is also a yoga teacher, physical therapist, very well versed in the healing arts, and sound healing is one of her specialties. So that will help us get into the body. So please welcome Amanda. Is your little thing on? It's on. Okay. So now is when we're going to shift gear, because when I'm talking like this and you're listening like this, we're kind of a little bit in our intellect, in our left brain. We're going to see if we can switch the channel into that more childlike, right brain, present moment channel. So to that end, I ask you to close your eyes. Coming into yourself, into your own internal space. The kingdom lies within. Be still and know that I am. The quieting inside. Become aware of your breath, spirit. In many languages, breath and spirit is the same word. So draw spirit deeper into your body. Allow the body to relax and become a bigger container for your spirit, for your light. Notice the sensation of breath inside your nose. Notice any places in your torso that could relax and allow a little more breath in. And let the exhale become a little longer, as though you're shedding some tension from the body with the exhale breath. The inhale opens you more, creates a bigger space inside. The exhale is letting go of whatever might be constricting your physical vessel, becoming softer, more childlike in the body. Notice the temperature of the breath inside the nose, and the release and relief with the exhale breath as you surrender and soften into your seat, letting yourself be held by the chair, supported by the backrest. And now gently say inside yourself with the breath on the inhale, I am. And on the exhale, here now. I am here now. And let that truly be spirit, higher self, divine essence within you, arriving more completely, more deeply into the physical vessel. Notice the feeling of your feet on the floor, your lower legs and your thighs, your bottom on the chair, your hips, your belly, your low back, the fullness of your chest. Now let every inhale be a sense of bringing more light into the body, illuminating every cell, widening the heart space. Your own inner temple of love and of light, opening more, becoming wider, broader, deeper. Heart space illuminating, arms and hands and fingers illuminating, throat, head, the whole of the brain illuminated. I see some yawning, and that's such a good sign, because yawning is one of the ways that we shamanically release tension from the body. So pay attention to any urge to yawn and any habit of suppressing the yawning. Let it move through. The inhale expands you, the exhale relaxes you, softening around the eyes, the jaw, the lips, the forehead, shoulders releasing away from the ears. The body as relaxed as could be, even though you're sitting in a chair. And now we're going to deliberately trigger our own energy field to reveal where a trigger might be sitting in the body. So bring to mind someone in your circle that really ought to treat you differently, be different, that annoys you, triggers you. And if that person keeps doing that, it's really going to be intolerable. Notice what is happening in the energy field of the body as you tease this out. You might even, just for the purpose of seeing and feeling this trigger, spew just a little bit inwardly at that person, at that situation. Can you feel how a certain area of the body starts to contract a bit, act up? Good, yawning. Now bring awareness to the place that is most uncomfortable, probably somewhere in the torso, throat, chest, stomach, solar plexus, abdomen. It could be somewhere else in the extremities, but see if this soft underbelly, is there somewhere here where something is not really flowing, it's hard to fully relax. And bring your attention there. You might even lay a hand over it, wherever you find it, and say inside yourself, I notice this. I feel this. And say more directly to this place, I'm here. I've got you. I want to know you and feel you. And ask this place, what makes this worse? Who makes this worse? And now release the present day story, whatever is happening in your life, and go even deeper into the sensation in the body, just the contraction in the body. Surround it with light, surround it with words that are soothing. I'm here, I love you, I'm not going anywhere. How old is this feeling? When is the first time you remember having this feeling in the body? Does it only have to do with the current villain? Or has this shown up in your body before? Are there memories, images, sensations stored here that want to be known? Or does this contracted place simply need love? Loving presence. Now radiate with even more intensity, like your life depended on it, love into this place. As you bring loving awareness, it might contract a little more at first, show itself a little more. Trust that your loving connection to the divine is greater than any degree of contraction in the energy field of the body. More love, more light. Like the sun itself is now in your body, radiating with healing warmth, eternal light, radiant life, this stagnant, contracted area in the body. And let the light communicate like a song. I am here. Like a lullaby of love, I am here. You're not alone. I've got you. Tell me anything you want to tell me, or just be held in love. And I'm not just holding you so you'll go away. I'm holding you because I love you and because I am eternal love. And you can trust this love. And I'm sorry for the times I didn't have the capacity to swoop in and love you when that's what you needed, much more than freaking out, blowing a fuse, having a drink. What you really needed was love, and I'm here. And let the cells of the body energetically, physically say inside of you, I open myself to this loving light. I allow it in. I take it in. I bring it in. I allow it more. I let that place within me be held. I ask that the divine within me holds this place inside of me, now and always, and that I may be given the courage to be present for any contraction anywhere in my body, anytime, slowly but surely melting the ice within, the density within, through the power of warmth and love. I am here. I've got you. I am not leaving. You have me forever. And I'm sorry for the times I was not able to be here for you this way. That stops today. From now on, I will be right here with any pain that shows up in my body by the power and grace of the divine love that I have access to within myself always. Notice if anything is shifting in the energy field of the body. Notice what's happening. Notice your breath. Notice your body. And now slowly disperse the awareness into the whole of the body again, feeling again the space behind you, your backrest, the seat of the chair, your arms and legs and hands and feet, your face, your head, radiant light throughout the body. And bring hands to the heart. And I invite you in your own words, or maybe you borrow mine, to say thank you to the divine within me for being there always. I'm not going to forget anymore. I'm going to allow this light of mine to shine brightly, not just more and more deeply into myself, but into the world. And as I do less out, less lashing out, less numbing out, less checking out, my gift to myself, to my world, to my family, to my community is my loving presence, my radiant heart shining into this world, shining into my relationships. Not only am I willing to do this for myself, I'm willing to do this for others as well. Release your hands back into your lap. And softly open your eyes. Let your eyes kind of wander around a little bit in the space, people around you. all the little lights here. Thank you for being willing to drop in. So that was a little dip into the practices in the book. And right before I walked in here, there's this mix of people here, like my oldest teacher, a lot of fellow students from all the different courses I've taken, and some of my students from my teacher trainings, but we're all of it all the time, right? And one of my friends, Marcia, who I took a lot of classes with from Linda, who's also here, she was the first one to buy the book. She sent me, before it was even out on Amazon, she'd gotten it from the publisher, and she sent me 3 copies and said, I got it. And so that was like that first, wow, somebody actually has the physical manifestation of my book, and she bought one for herself and for her 2 daughters. And she just said to me as I was walking in, I read through it, and then I got so triggered. And it works, the method works. So do get the book if you're at all interested in this work and working with yourself inwardly and with each other this way. I highly recommend it. I have a book club coming up online where we'll meet and do the book together, the steps together. That starts September 27th. And reviews on Amazon would help us get this message out. So if you're so inclined and have something relatively nice to say, then please get on Amazon and review the book. I do want to thank, I could thank so many people here, but I want to thank Lori Hughes, who's on the back row there. You can raise your hand so people know who you are. So I had written this book and thought, okay, I'll just polish it a little bit and self-publish it. Isn't that what people do these days? And I sent it to Lori, who took yoga from me ages ago, and she's an editor. And she worked through it with me, really helped sort of tighten it up and give it that editor's polish. And she said, you know what? I think we should try to submit that to Llewellyn. It's like, what's Llewellyn? I didn't even know that we actually have a local publishing house in St. Paul. And so she helped me prepare the chapters to submit and send them in, and the cover letter and all the things that definitely fell out of my league. And lo and behold, they said yes. So if you have a little book in your belly that you'd like to write, I highly recommend talking to Lori. She will give you amazing advice on what needs to happen to take it from, a pretty good book to a better book, definitely. Okay? Yeah. That's what I got for you today, unless anyone has comments or questions about the experience, emotional triggers, your body. Anyone? Does he need to speak, or can you speak up loudly?
Nope. No,
Okay.
you can't. So this is being recorded. We do have a YouTube channel where you can go back and listen to the conversations. So who was it that had something to say? Ruben, I knew it.
What do you do if the person you have a problem with is kind of political and just doesn't go away?
I still think you work with the trigger in the body. I still think that's the greatest gift you can give to the world, is that energy and presence flow through you in a less inhibited way. Anytime we're triggered, we're ultimately bringing this light and love into the world. And I think the antidote to anything we perceive out there as darkness and not good for our world, well, the greatest antidote is your love radiating. If you're like this, you're in warrior mode too. And I think you can still be a warrior, but a warrior of love, standing more fully in your light, more fully in your presence. So that's where I'm at now. Every single thing that triggers me, and it's no longer just like once a week I'll sit and figure out, what's triggering me. It's like all day long. It can be something I hear on the news. It can be somebody cutting me off on the freeway. It can be a text that's a little curt from someone. And I go in and I feel the little pit in my stomach. I can feel something in my throat. Even as I say it now, I can kind of feel a little ripple of that. And I have to do a lot of weird yawning. That's kind of how I release it. And then I'm going to come more from the part of me that's guided more directly by my higher self and less by my ego self. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's how I work with it.
So you have to be ready to repeat it as many times as you need it.
Yes, and that's the other thing. There really was a time when I thought this was like, okay, I'll stop being triggered and then I'll have my real life. I've come to think that we might be in bodies, which is a pretty contracted, dense existence relative to the great grand spirits we really are. And I have come to think that that is what binds us, are all those unresolved places within where love hasn't penetrated. So that instead of thinking I'm going to deal with my triggers and then I'll have the boyfriend and the job and the money, it's like, no, I'm going to deal with the triggers and deal with the triggers, bring more love in, deal with the triggers, more love, more love, more love, even more. God, surrender. Help me, God, this one is too much, bring it in. And in it your own body becomes like a church, like a temple, where you keep inviting more light, more love, more light, more love, more light, more love in to dissolve more and more and more, which stands you spiritualizing your own vessel. And then I believe the more we do that, it's like we might start out as a 30-watt light bulb, and then we become a 40 and a 60 and a 70 and a 100. And then we're bringing that light in. And anything that's contracted and unkind and lacks compassion and all the things, what's going to dissolve that, I think, is that radiant love, whether it's inside or outside. I mean, we know it if we see a big spiritual master. You know, we're just drawn to that individual to just sit in their presence. They can just sit and meditate. They don't even have to speak. And there's just a feeling that I have more light come in. Like the namaste, the spirit in me enhances and grows and wakes up when I see the spirit in you, which is why it's kind of a disaster that we're so isolated, with our devices and not meeting in community anymore, because when I see the light in you, wow, there is the divine in you. There's the divine. It's like you actually see the brother and the sister and the family within everyone. And I think it happens less when we scroll through reels. Yeah? Anyone else?
Okay, and so I've known Maria for a while and loved her for many, many years, and I find that some of the things that I want to express and bring out are things that, they're fear spaces and that kind of thing. And there are small places where I can reach out and feel that it's something real or something true. And but most of the time I don't feel that I'm true. And I've known Maria, like I said, quite a long time, and I just admire her and love her so much. And I feel is so gifted for being around her when I am. And I just really feel that everything that she's been saying and that all of the rest of us have been saying are just really, it's truth. It's truth. And, I didn't grow up thinking that way, so it's lovely.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, we've got time for just one more comment. Don, did you still want to? Or to say anybody else? Okay. All right. One more comment.
So eliminating triggers is probably not a good goal. Can we transmute or transcend our view of triggers so that we welcome them?
Can we what?
Can we kind of change our perspective towards triggers, and rather than having them triggering pain, having them be sources of awakening, awareness, and saying,
I
thank
would-
you.
Yeah, I would, Don, I would totally agree with that. That, you know, it's I don't know, at least I'm not there where a trigger feels like, hooray, this feels great, but it does feel like, my attitude toward my triggers is more that of, my beloved child is crying, let me pick him up. And that's different from, oh my God, shut him up, give him some vanilla ice cream, or, you know, close the doors, I don't have to hear it. Or if I'm cold enough to him, he probably won't keep crying, right? So it's that attitude toward, there's something that needs love, oh, there's something that needs love, oh, there's something that needs love. And so I have to keep bringing more love in, and in that way, I think our triggers, in a way, is a path. What is that? Is it a Japanese saying, the wound is where the light gets in, or is that Rumi? But I think that's exactly it, when we're willing to go there, because until we actually go there with love, with care, with presence, with holding, with I'm here, until then, I think it just thickens and thickens and thickens, and the charge gets greater and greater, and we don't tend to get better. We tend to lash out more, need more drugs not to feel, get more cold, and get worse. So it's like at some point we have to reverse it, and to Jennifer's point, we don't learn this. I'll just maybe end with that because we are at time now. I wish that we would learn this in school. Like, my dream scenario is that this would be taught to everyone in high school, if not even earlier. And parents too, that we would learn to be with those places within ourselves. If a kid skins their knee and we hand them a lollipop, instead of just cry it out, feel it, I've got you, I love you, instead of like toughen up and have some sugar if you can't take it. Because that sugar becomes a cocktail, and that cocktail becomes the next thing to keep increasing what it takes to not feel, to not feel, to not feel. So if we don't bring in that it's normal to have all these emotions move through us, and we can learn to do it not in a way where we make everybody else responsible, but still where we could in community call someone. And Jennifer and I actually used to do that, call and say, oh, you know, I'm really scared of that. And we had this saying that we got out of Paul Selig's book, which was, word on word through Maria's pain, word on word through Jennifer's pain. And that was his way of saying, you know, imbuing the pain with divine love. So I think we absolutely can do that for each other. Now Ella's going to come up here and stop me.
Well, please give her a warm round of applause.
Thank you.